because I knew the next step was going to be a big step, whatever it was that I was going to take. And ultimately, the law seemed to make sense, because I still got to tell stories, which is what I loved about the journalism part of things.
Welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Sean Olsen, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. So it looks beautiful out there. What's behind your window? You're in Colorado?
I am in Colorado. Yeah, we're actually, it's nice right now. We are anticipating what they call a significant wind event here in the next couple of hours. So looks can be deceiving sometimes in Colorado.
Yeah, I am in Ohio, and we had a whole bunch of wind last night. It was supposed to be 50 degrees today. It's currently 28 degrees
Oh, they
because
lied.
the wind was a lot faster than they thought. Okay, so Sean, you are on the You Are Lawyer podcast because you love being a lawyer. You're in Colorado, licensed in a couple states, New Mexico and Wyoming.
Yep,
Would
and
you,
Colorado, right?
yeah. Would you tell the audience about what a typical day is like for you?
Man, a typical day. I don't know if I have a typical day anymore. I run a law firm with four other lawyers plus me, and a staff and that kind of thing. So it really kind of depends on the day. I mean, sometimes I'm wrangling staff and getting things done, doing podcasts, things like that. And on occasion, I still get to practice law, which is what I really love doing. So it really depends. There's really no typical day for me. And I know everyone likes to say that, but man, I sure feel like it's true for me.
Yeah. And that's because you are the founder, owner of Olson Law Firm as well.
Correct. Right. Yeah. I'm the guy who started this whole thing from a single tiny office back in, I guess, 2017 is where this iteration of the firm came from.
Yeah, I love that. So, did you always want to own your own law firm, or did you work for other lawyers and law offices first?
No, I had no idea that owning a law firm was going to be a possibility for me. I represented cops for a long time, cops and firefighters and paramedics for like the first 10 years of my legal career. And I was a partner at a very small firm here in Colorado that did that kind of work exclusively. And so I did that up until the end of 2012. And that firm blew up for a number of different reasons. And so I was suddenly out on my own. And I kept doing the things that I was doing before. I kept representing the same clients and that sort of thing. I took my clients came with me and did that for another 5 years on my own. Just me working, it was purely a solo practice. And then in 2016, I got invited in on this to be trial counsel on this personal injury case. This poor girl with significant lifelong injuries. And we tried this case, and the outcome of that case was going to determine how she lived the rest of her life, whether she lived at home, with family looking after her, or whether she got warehoused in a state facility, until the day she died. And I just fell in love with what I was doing, because I knew I was just making a difference at that point in time. And I made a decision once that case was over. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is my calling. And so from 2017, I started working on building Olsen Personal Injury Lawyers into what it is today.
Okay. And so I'm going to jump around a little bit. How many
That's all right.
lawyers or how big is the office now?
We are four lawyers plus me. I think we'll add another lawyer probably come 2026. So we're four lawyers, I think a staff of around 15 at this point in time.
Okay. And staff including accountants, paralegals, interns.
Yeah. Paralegals, yeah, both lit and pre-lit. We've got a chief operating officer now. We hired an executive assistant for me to keep me in line. So we keep growing and keep filling gaps, and it's been a lot of fun doing that.
Okay. So earlier you said, and you're a practicing attorney when you get time to practice, right? Because your day is spent with a lot of the managing, because you're an executive now. You have an executive assistant.
Yep.
Do you cherish those times when someone calls you in, they're like, Sean, we can't figure this out, help. And you're like, yes.
I do. I really do. I love the legal problems. I love putting a case together still. I really like doing that stuff. Just not enough time in a day, to get it all done. I was told long ago when I started doing this that I get to choose whether I want to be a trial lawyer or whether I want to be a CEO. And I was told you can't be both. And I said, to hell with you guys. I am going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you. And I fear that many of those voices were correct. It's tough trying to be both.
Yeah. And it's not that you are incapable or unable to do it. It's that they are both demanding roles.
There's just only so many hours in a day that to get anything done, and to still spend time with my family and have a life outside of these walls,
Yeah.
which
And
I
sleep.
insist on doing. And sleep, yeah, sleep is nice every once in a while.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back because you said you were representing firefighters and police officers and things like that. That is
Right.
a very niche practice, right?
Very
It's
much.
not like
Yep.
you leave that and then you're just like, firefighter union, I'll take you on.
Right.
What was it like until someone reached out to you about this case? Were you really like, okay, now what do I want to do?
I hadn't really had that moment yet. What I was doing was fine. It was paying the bills. I was making a decent living. Yeah, that moment hadn't come. I hadn't been pushed to the point where I'm like, I got to find something different. I just hadn't had that happen until this case came along and showed me what was possible and showed me what was different. And at that point in time, I was like, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very cool. You decided to open your own firm. You're doing personal injury work. I know a lot of personal injury cases can go into settlement. Do you guys, are you doing both, or is it a mixture, or what?
It's a mixture. I mean, we're definitely a trial firm. We're not one of these firms that only takes cases to settle, and then we farm them out once we're incapable of doing that. Every lawyer we hire here is a trial lawyer, or has a deep desire to be one. So yeah, we take cases from the inception, and if they can't be resolved, we file them and we chase them all the way through a trial if we need to.
Yeah. So the audience of this podcast is made up of young lawyers, 5 years practicing or less, or law students. So I want to dig into the meat of being a trial lawyer, because if you're in law school listening, what does that mean? There will come a time where it's like, do you want to do mock trial, or do you want to just stick with all your paperwork, right?
Right.
Did you have mock trial experience when you were in law school?
I did. I had quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, what was the first year we weren't allowed to take anything, if I remember correctly. And I think that summer between first and second year, I think I took my first trial ad class, and then I got on the trial team for the following 2 years. And I think I took just about every trial ad class there was when I was there. I just found out I loved doing it. I didn't know that I was going to love doing it. It took that first class just to try it out and see what it was like. And turns out it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think being a trial attorney is interesting because there's a lot of writing and getting all your motions and all that together, but then also writing out your opening statements and all of that. There's a whole orchestra to it, a whole theatrical portion. Did you find that you really enjoyed the research writing, or that you really love the public speaking aspect?
I would be lying if I told you I really love the research and writing part of things. I mean, it's fine. I know it needs to be done. I'm good at it and I can get it done. But if I can farm that work out to another lawyer who does enjoy it more than me, I will do it. It's the public speaking part of it. It's getting up in front of a jury and getting to talk. That's what I really like.
Yeah, and actually I left out the third aspect, which is the advocating. Because a lot of times people are like, I don't really care to talk. Oh, but someone could get hurt. I'll man up for it for that, right? The advocating part a lot of times makes us more courageous.
I think so. And when you think about it, I mean, for most of us, I think, that's why we're going to law school, because we believe in something bigger than us, whether that's justice or the rule of law or whatever it might be. That kind of stuff turns our cranks and gets us excited about going into work.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's say, talking about law school, what law school did you go to?
I went to the University of Denver Law School.
Okay. All right. And are you from Colorado?
Not from Colorado originally. I'm from Wisconsin originally, but I've been in Colorado since 1997. So it's been a little while. Law was my second career. So I was already here in Denver, and when I was applying, I applied all over the country to a variety of different schools and had a bunch of different opportunities. And when it came down to it, my wife and I decided, we really didn't want to leave Colorado. And, so if that was the case, then there were two options, University of Colorado or University of Denver, and ultimately decided on University of Denver.
Okay. I love that, because it's just a simple statement to you, but I'm grabbing a lot. A lot of times people come on the show because they were practicing lawyer and they decided to do something else. But being a lawyer was your second career. What were you doing before?
So I was a photojournalist before. I worked in TV primarily. local news to begin with. I was a photographer, cameraman, camera on my shoulder and the whole thing. And that ultimately went into production and writing and some editing and things like that. So I did a variety of things until I finally decided it was time to get out. And I'd always promised myself that when it stopped being fun, I would find something else to do. And so it got to that point where it wasn't fun anymore. And so I started walked the earth for about a year and a half, 2 years, and decided on law school.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, my eyes are like, walk the earth for 2 years. What did you really do? Were you hanging out with family? Were you spending time with your wife? What were you doing for the 2 years to decide?
No,
or were you trying to talk yourself out of it? Were you like, are you sure?
I wasn't trying to talk myself out. Because I knew the next step was going to be a big step, whatever it was that I was going to take, and so I was legitimately just trying to figure it out. And so I was talking with a lot of people. It was work. I took competency tests and researched the heck out of different careers, trying to figure things out. And ultimately, the law seemed to make sense, because I still got to tell stories, which is what I loved about the journalism part of things. So I still got to tell stories, and I got to actually advocate for people. And I thought that sounded pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very cool. Became a lawyer, worked for someone else, had a little bit of a break, and then you started your own firm. Did you ever imagine that it would get to this place? 15
No.
staff members and 5 attorneys?
No, I really didn't. I didn't even conceptualize it. At the time I went out on my own, I didn't really understand what was possible. And because I knew I had this sort of gap in my knowledge and my experience that was putting blinders on me. And so when I started the personal injury part of things, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money on learning again, and so it was a lot of conferences, a lot of schooling, a lot of books, just learning, how to run a business, how to market myself, all these things that I'd never had to do before. And suddenly I was kind of thrust into it based on the choice that I'd made. And so, yeah, I guess to answer your question, no, I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know where I was headed. But these days, I think we've got a pretty clear idea of what that is. And it's working out.
Good. So personal injury is a pretty big practice of law.
It is.
Do you guys accept all of it, or is it a specific niche?
No, we have a niche down to a point where we're only taking one kind of case. I mean, for the most part, there are some specializations that occur along the way that can occur to make you a better lawyer. Truck crashes, for example, medical malpractice. I happen to do a lot of medical malpractice. I know that field very, very well at this point in time. We've got another lawyer in the firm who has specialized now in truck crashes, and that's kind of his passion. And he's out every other week, learning from some other attorney who knows how to do this, and expanding his knowledge base. And so we've got specializations within the firm, but the firm itself, we've never said, this is the only kind of case we're taking on. We won't take anything else on, because I think it limits our opportunities when we do that, because you never know what kind of interesting thing is going to come through the door.
Which is true. That's the amazing and frustrating part about being a lawyer, because it's going to be something that you've never seen, because the case facts are always a little bit different than the last
Absolutely. Thing. Or sometimes just grossly different than anything you've done before. And that's what makes it interesting. It's, as long as there are corporations and insurance companies out there, there are going to be new ways to hurt people and harm them. And, and so we're always waiting on deck when that happens to try to figure out how to make it right.
Yeah. I mean, it's necessary. It is necessary. The United States is a litigious society, but also if you are harmed, you should be able to find someone to advocate for you or with you. So
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you and I are on the same page on that.
Spoken as 2 lawyers. So Sean, when I got out of law school, one of the most frustrating things for me was realizing that I had to keep learning. And I feel like you've been talking about learning and education this entire interview. Did you enjoy that piece of it, or was it kind of humbling?
Oh, I love that piece of it. I mean, it's both, right? I mean, it is humbling because there's so much. I mean, even now, I got all this gray hair in my beard, and I'm still learning. Every week, I'm learning about new things. I take time every single morning for the first 30 minutes I'm in the office that's spent reading, and not about one of my cases, just reading a book about something, whether that's business or marketing or law. So I'm constantly doing that kind of thing. And it is humbling because there's always someone out there who knows more than you do about a particular subject. And that's always going to be true. So the only thing we can do is just keep growing and trying to keep trying to catch up and keep up and do that. But I love that part of it. I mean, it's one of the great things about being a lawyer, and not working on a manufacturing line or something like that where every day is the same. Every day is different. And, we have to keep up with our knowledge base and our skills and everything else. And I think that makes it interesting as heck.
Yeah. And so if you guys are listening, don't be afraid of the learning piece. I think because I didn't know a lot of lawyers before I went to law school, it really threw me off. I was just like, I'm the expert. What do you mean? And when you get out, it's kind of like you just finished undergrad because you know a little bit of everything, but you haven't specialized.
You've just scratched the surface. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a humbling thing. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So
all it takes is one judge to remind you of the fact that you are not an expert that you think you are.
One judge or one case that's completely different, like that first case you did where you were like, oh, this is the meat and bones of it. This is how it really gets. Or even I've heard of, police unions or firefighter unions. I don't think about the lawyers who represent them, right? So then you get out and you're just like, oh, this is all the context to the tiny foundation.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the interesting things I've found since graduating is the many different things that you can do as a lawyer. The tiny little niches you can fall into and start working on it. I think it's a remarkable career that we chose, because there are so many things that we can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I already mentioned the audience of the show, young lawyers and law students.
Yeah.
And Sean, in every episode, I ask the guest this. What would you say to a young lawyer or law student about what they could do with their law degree?
I'd say you can do anything. And I mean that. I mean, it's such a unique opportunity to have a JD. And once you get through that, it's such a privilege to have that because you're never going to lose it. I mean, that JD is with you forever. And I would say, figure out what you're passionate about. What's going to wake you up in the morning and get you out of bed. Figure that part of it out and then go find a way to make a living doing it. Because it's more likely than not very possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I even know of a couple of news anchors who studied the law and then they were like, no, I think I can advocate in this other way, right? You can literally take your education anywhere. So.
You really can. It's a unique degree in that respect.
Awesome. And you guys just keep your eyes open because you never know where that law degree is going to take you.
You never know. Just be open to the possibilities.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate this. And I know the audience is going to learn a lot.
Thanks for having me.